Earned value management. What is earned value management? When Googling it, the first three sentences that come up encapsulates the intent of earned value perfectly. It is a project management technique for measuring project performance and progress. It has the ability to combine measurements of the project management triangle: scope, time, and cost. And in a single integrated system, earned value management is able to provide accurate forecasts of performance problems, which is important for project management. So earned value management can and should be implemented on all programs to some degree. However, the level of compliance to earned value standards and reporting requirements will be dictated by the size and the type of contracts. So on contracts under the $20 million threshold, we have the opportunity to only implement value-added practices and leave out compliance requirements and artifacts that we deem unnecessary internally. For cost and incentive contracts over $20 million, adherence to the requirements in the 748 standard is required. And over the $100 million threshold, formal validation is required. So a formal validation is an extensive review that's conducted by a team of auditors from BCMA that walk through every facet of a company's project management practices to ensure that they are properly documented and implemented in a compliant manner. So the Department of Defense considers earned value management as one of the 6 essential business systems to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. The other 5 being accounting and billings, purchasing, cost estimating, property management, and material management. In traditional management, there's only 2 sources of data: the budget and the actual expenditures. This method provides no insight to the amount of work being performed and therefore does not provide true cost performance for the project. On the other hand, earned value management incorporates that performance aspect known as the budgeted cost of work performed, with the BCWP. So adding in this performance metric allows for a much more robust assessment of the project status. So some of the benefits of earned value include: we get metrics that provide early indicators of trends and problems, which enables that course correction in the early stages, which is much easier and less expensive than if implemented later in the project. And in keeping executive management aware and engaged early and often so they can assist when needed. Earned value also allows us to compare projects, identify trends and systematic problems so we can prevent them from reoccurring. It provides us the data necessary to evaluate and correctly forecast the labor and financial information, which is crucial to making business decisions. So Pearson's law states when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. So that improved program management will result in completing projects on time and on budget that will lead to customer confidence and future work. And lastly, in earned value management, validation opens us up to opportunities to bid on and be awarded very large contracts that can change the landscape for our business. Inversely, not being compliant will shut us out from those future bid opportunities. You may be asking yourself, how is earned value going to help me execute and manage my project day to day? Well, often executive management, auditors, members of the project team, customers, they'll ask us about our project, and we can refer to our integrated master schedule and our earned value metrics to aid in our responses, make those conversations more productive and data-driven. So we'll be talking about these metrics in greater detail, but I wanted to pose a couple questions here and see and show you practical examples of how we can apply this day to day. So when is the project going to be complete? Will we deliver on time? We can refer to our schedule for our forecasted dates, our critical path analysis, and some total flow to the project milestones. When asked how many hours and dollars has the project incurred to date, And are we going to finish on budget? We can refer to the cumulative actual cost of work performed, where the variance at complete will indicate whether the project will complete under or over budget. And lastly, when asked, what is the likelihood that the project will achieve the EAC, we can evaluate the difference between the cost performance index that indicates the cost efficiency of the project and the TCPI EAC that indicates the CPI needed on the remainder of the project in order to achieve the EAC. So that type of evaluation will allow us to assess the reasonableness of the EAC. This bell curve shows math skills through the stages of life, where we start off by learning numbers and counting and move on to basic operations all the way through college in advanced calculus to wind up in a job where most math is spreadsheet math, where we're using basic operations again. Well, earned value management is no different. The calculations are simple, easy to derive, but this vernacular ingrained in the organization is key to properly managing projects and speaking on a deeper level about the projects. So these earned value components make up the majority of the EV metrics. Budgeted cost of work scheduled, or BCWS, budgeted cost of work performed, or BCWP, and actual cost of work performed, or ACWP. The BCWS is the sum of all budgets for the work scheduled to be accomplished over a given period of time. This is created by decomposing the scope into a resource load schedule to manage the scope, track performance, and forecast the remaining work on the project to complete. The budgeted cost of work performed, or BCWP, is the amount of work that has been completed through a given period of time. Performance is claimed as work is performed. The actual cost of work performed, or ACWP, is the amount spent to date to get the work complete. Examples of ACWP would be hourly labor in a timekeeping system, or cost for materials and services rendered. These three components will be used to comprise the following metrics. First up, we have schedule variance. Schedule variance will indicate whether the project is ahead or behind schedule. Positive SV indicates we are ahead of the baseline plan, while a negative SV indicates that we are behind the baseline plan. In this example, we have 900 hours of performance claims for the 1,000 hours scheduled. SV will equal negative 100, which indicates we are 100 hours behind plan. Next, we have Scheduled Performance Index, or SPI, which indicates the efficiency of the time utilized on the project. The formula is similar to the SV formula, but instead of a subtraction sign, we have a division sign, with performance being the numerator and schedule being the denominator. SPI greater than 1 indicates ahead of schedule, less than 1 indicates behind schedule, and exactly 1 means on schedule. In this example, 0.9 SPI metric indicates the project is behind schedule. Here's an SV and SPI example. We are managing a home renovation project. The budget for this project is 1,500 hours over a 3-month time frame. Since we are 40% complete, we have a BCWP of 600 hours, which is used to calculate the schedule variance as a positive 100 hours, and a SPI of 1.2, indicating we are 20% ahead of schedule. So now let's switch to cost variance, and it indicates whether we are under or over budget. The formula is BCWP minus ACWP. In this example, BCWP is subtracted from ACWP, leaving a 450-hour cost variance, indicating that we are performing under budget. Cost Performance Index indicates the cost efficiency of the project. The formula is BCWP divided by ACWP. A CPI metric greater than 1 indicates that you are under budget. Under 1 indicates over budget, and a CPI of 1 indicates on budget. In this example, we have a CPI of 2, which indicates we are twice as efficient as originally planned. Here is a CV and CPI example with the same house renovation project, but now we've learned that it took 900 hours to get to that 40% complete. So that means the cost variance indicates that we are 300 hours over budget, while the CPI of 0.67 indicates that we are 33% over budget at this point. Here we have at completion metrics, ETC, EAC, and VAC. Estimate to complete, or ETC, is the expected amount of hours or dollars needed to finish the remaining work. When we take that ETC value and we add it to the actual cost of work performed, we get the estimate at complete, or the EAC, for the project. The variance at complete, or the VAC, is calculated by taking that EAC value we just came up with and then subtracting it to the budget at complete, or the VAC value. So a positive VAC will indicate the project is projected to be under budget at completion, whereas a negative value would indicate that we would be over budget. The last metric we'll go over is the To Complete Performance Index, or TCPI, which will determine the CPI needed to complete the project at the BAC or the EAC. So the TCPI formula is the remaining work divided by the remaining funds. We're not going to have to be able to compute any of these metrics. I just want you to be able to interpret them properly. So in this example here, the CPI is 0.75, meaning we are underperforming on the project. So we would assume that we would need to be performing better than the budget for the remaining work in order to compensate for the poor performance to date and therefore coming on budget. So the TCPI BAC metric would be greater than 1. Here's another example of assessing with the TCPI metric. This project is 30% complete with a CPI of 0.75, which makes our TCPI BAC at 1.17, meaning we need to perform 17% better on cost than the original baseline in order to finish at the budgeted cost. So executive management probably is not going to believe that we're going to drastically improve from a 0.75 CPI cum to date to a 1.17 in order to hit the budget. So the project team comes up with a bottoms-up ETC estimate of 80,000 hours of remaining work and an EAC of 120,000. So that produces a TCPI EAC metric of 0.88, meaning that the performance will end up improving from a 0.75 to a 0.88 for the remaining 70% of work in order to hit the EAC value. So that could be a reasonable estimate. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into that. So the metrics are just indicators. It's up to us to actually rationalize and provide context behind them. So in the home stretch here with one more example. Here is a contract award of a construction of 3 miles of railroad track for 3,000 hours in a 3-month time frame. So BCWS would be 1,000 hours or 1 mile of railroad track every month. Again, this BCWS will be spread equally over the 3 months. So here we begin our execution. That first month, we expect that 1 mile of track to be completed for 1,000 hours. We actually perform 0.7 miles of track for 700 hours of performance claims, and we only spent 600 hours to do it. So that SV would be 700 minus 1,000, or negative 300. We have the CV of 700 minus 600, or positive 100, for an SPI of 0.7 and a CPI of 1.17. Meaning after month 1, we're behind schedule with that 0.7 SPI indicator and ahead of cost with that 1.17 CPI indicator. So since it's the first month, obviously your cum will be the same as your current month, and so we move into that second month, and we have that 1,000 hours or 1 mile of track that's scheduled for this month. We end up finishing 1.2 miles of track, or 1,200 hours worth of BCWS credit here, and we spent 1,300 hours to do it. So we had to staff up. We gained schedule that month, but we ended up performing worse on cost. So we have a 1.2 for the month, meaning that we made up schedule, but it took us more hours than originally planned. And through the second month, we're running a 0.95 SPI and a 1.0 CPI, meaning we're running on cost, but a little behind schedule. So that last month, they finished up, and we finished up, and the last 1.1 mile of track, and it cost us 1,300 hours to do that. Ultimately, we finished the project at a 1 SPI, but we had 200 hours of a cost variance, negative cost variance, and that would be our VAC would be the same as well, our variance at complete. Our budget was 3,000 hours, and our actuals or our current EAC would be 3,200. We have a 200-hour cost variance at the end, running a CPI of 0.94. So some of the key takeaways here is earned value management combines the measurement of scope, schedule, and cost in order to project performance problems and aid in formulating accurate forecasts. So this lingo, institutionalized in the business vernacular, can really make conversations more productive and data-driven, and improved program management will lead to completing projects on time and on budget, which will lead to customer confidence.